Hey folks, it's a cold, rainy day here in the mountains, and I was sitting by the fire and thinking maybe this would be a good time for a little bit of story time. So I just wanted to share this with you. In the past, I've shared from my great grandmother's writings, who was a librarian here in the county. But today, I wanted to share from some of my grandmother's writings. She wrote an article for the Allegheny News for many, many years, and I also have a lot of her articles that were she put it in this book here, An Apple a Day. A lot of her articles, kind of a collection of her stuff, but then got a lot of articles too that weren't in the book. So thought you might enjoy this little piece of Allegheny history as you're relaxing on this rainy day. Alma Franklin's Place, the store. A short while ago, the Allegheny News published an interview with a lady named Anna Shepherd. For years, Miss Shepherd operated a small country store in the community where she lived. While reading the article, my mind went back to a wonderful lady who owned and operated a small country store in the community where I grew up. Her name was Alma Franklin. She left this world a while back. I know that many people who knew and loved her will enjoy remembering her with me in this tribute of love and respect. They just don't make them like Alma anymore. She lived with her husband Tyree and her sons Dennis and Joe in a big white farmhouse across the dirt road from the store. Now that road is Shawtown Road, and it's not a dirt road anymore. Mr. Franklin was a retired school teacher. He was educated and well informed on current events. Daddy enjoyed visiting and talking with him. I respected him, and I always called him Mr. Franklin, but I never loved him. Mrs. Franklin was always Alma, and all the children and grown-ups for miles around loved her very much. Joe grew up and left Allegheny County. Dennis is very much with us. He and his wife Marcel live close by. Their two sons, Mike and Mitch, grew up here in our community. Dennis is a rural mail carrier, and we love him, and we loved his mother. There were various other places of business scattered around the countryside where we grew up, but Alma's place was the store. As far as we were concerned, it was where the action was. Alma and the store were one and the same for us. The store was even part of our school days. We attended a country school named Rich Hill until we finished the 8th grade. Things and people were a whole lot less complicated back in those days. The entire school was laid back and soothing to the system. We had long recesses, morning and afternoon, and an hour for lunch. The store was within walking distance of the school. We could dash down there and back during recess and get whatever we were desperately in need of purchasing. The teachers were very cooperative in recognizing our problems and giving us permission to handle them. Alma knew every child in the school. She knew our parents and where we lived. We grew up knowing she cared about each one of us. We were never a bunch of aggravating kids to Alma. We were individual people, and she loved us all. We also had her during summer vacation. When our parents ran out of sugar, salt, can lids, etc., we walked to the store. And when they were not out of anything, we walked to the store just the same. We would search the road, banks, and ditches for empty pop bottles we could turn in for deposit money. Then we would spend every penny she gave us for candy and drinks. Lots of times during the summer, she would be in the house working. We knew she was always there. We'd go running, usually barefoot, up the steps and knock on the front door. I can almost hear her calling out to us now. "Okay, I'll be out in a minute." We didn't mind waiting. We would sit in the swing on the big, cool front porch, laughing and talking as we waited for her. She would come out in her apron, the keys to the store in her hand. After we grew up and left home, life was no different for Alma. Other children took our place. Even our children became her children, just as we had been. As I sit here remembering this wonderful lady, I'm trying to think how I can put into words the warm, kind interest she had in all our families. I'm sure everyone reading this has at one time or another known adults with what we called nose trouble. This seemed to take a special delight in asking children questions they wouldn't have dared ask their parents about subjects which were none of their business. At home, we called it picking children, and to us, these people were low forms of adults. Alma had absolutely none of this warped, bad-mannered style of curiosity. Our parents were never reluctant to let us go there. She made intelligent conversation with us. She never asked us anything when we were alone. She wouldn't have asked us if we had been accompanied by our parents. She never put us on the spot. She shared her life and her family with us. She told us what Mr. Franklin, Dennis, and Joe were doing. Her family was number one in her life. She wanted all of us to do well. She cared if we had clean, healthy minds and bodies. She encouraged us to learn and be honest, decent people. Alma had a kind of class you don't find everywhere you look. She treated the poorest, dirtiest child who came in the store the same way she treated those who were clean and from families who were secure financially. She made them feel welcome and special, because to her they were. I remember well the night her body was in the funeral home. Never was the love the people had for her more apparent. We were all there, the many children who had loved and been loved by her. This was our last opportunity to express what she had meant to us throughout the years. Dennis, Joe, and their families were standing near her open casket to receive the tremendous flow of friends and neighbors who came and went. Alma would have been proud of her sons and their families. They laid aside their personal grief to do for their mother what she could no longer do for herself. They were extending the warmth and the special kind of class she had always extended. They helped us to say goodbye to her just as we would have wanted them to. Thank God for my childhood. It was a beautiful time. He placed me in the midst of many special people. One of those people was Alma Franklin. She's a memory I treasure. All right. Hope everybody enjoyed that little story. And if you have any memories of Alma Franklin or the store, feel free to put those in the comments. I'd love to read them. Everybody take care.